You felt a scent that had no explanation. It appeared out of nowhere, lasted a few seconds, and vanished as quickly as it came. It was something floral, or something sweet, or something that resembled incense, or something you cannot compare to anything you know. You looked around. There was no lit candle, there was no flower, there was no open perfume, there was no immediate rational explanation. And that sensation remained. That calm and silent certainty that something had happened, that someone had passed by, that the environment had changed in a way you did not see but felt. This was not your imagination. This was not your nose playing a trick on you. This was not a coincidence. What you experienced is one of the most documented signs by spiritual traditions worldwide, and it is known by a specific name in multiple cultures. In Latin, it is called odor sanctitatis. In Portuguese, the odor of sanctity, the perfume of the angels. Today I will reveal to you what this phenomenon is, why it happens, what it specifically means when it occurs inside your home, and most importantly, what it is signaling about what has just occurred in the spiritual field of your hearth. Because the perfume of the angels does not appear by chance. It appears as a confirmation, as a seal of a spiritual process that has just been completed. And when you understand what this process is, you will recognize that the purification your house needed has already begun. And that the scent was the receipt. Stay until the end, because in the second half of this video, I will teach you how to create the conditions so that this process completes itself fully and lastingly in your home. And what I am going to reveal will surprise you by its simplicity and depth at the same time. First, let us speak about the sense of smell. Because of all human senses, smell has a relationship with the spiritual that none of the others possess, and neuroscience explains why in a way that will completely change how you understand this sense. The olfactory nerve is the only sensory nerve that has a direct connection to the brain's limbic system. The limbic system is the cerebral region responsible for emotions, long-term memory, and the regulation of the autonomic nervous system. All other senses, vision, hearing, touch, taste, pass first through the thalamus, which is a kind of distribution center, before reaching the emotional regions of the brain. Smell does not. It arrives directly, without a filter, without mediation. This explains why a specific scent can instantly transport you to a memory from 30 years ago with a vividness that no photograph can reproduce. It is the scent of a grandmother's cake that places you back in her kitchen as if you were there now. It is the perfume of a loved one that activates their physical presence even after years of separation. Smell is the sense of the deepest memory and the most immediate emotion. And in the spiritual field, this neurological characteristic has a perfect parallel. If smell is the sense that accesses the deepest layers of human memory and emotion, it makes sense that it is also the preferred channel of communication for spiritual presences that operate exactly in those layers. It is no coincidence that in practically every spiritual tradition on the planet, smell occupies a central place in rituals of connection with the sacred. The incense burned in the temples of all religions, the perfume of flowers in offerings, the myrrh and frankincense cited repeatedly in the Old and New Testaments, sandalwood in Hindu and Buddhist traditions, smudged herbs in indigenous traditions, sacred tobacco in shamanic ceremonies, lavender and rosemary in European traditions of purification. Everywhere, in every time, in every culture, scent was used as a bridge between the human and the divine, not by superstition, by intuitive recognition that smell is the most direct portal. Now let us enter into what spiritual traditions document regarding spontaneous perfume as a sign of angelic presence. In the Catholic tradition, the odor of sanctity is a phenomenon so documented that the Church possesses records of saints who exhaled inexplicable fragrances during life and after death. Saint Teresa of Avila, one of the greatest mystics of the 16th century, reported experiences of celestial fragrances during her visions and ecstasies. Saint Pius of Pietrelcina, the famous Padre Pio, was so known for exhaling a perfume of violets and roses that had no physical origin that people traveled from afar to witness it. Saint John Mary Vianney, the Curé d'Ars, reported the presence of his guardian angel often accompanied by soft fragrances. The Church has compiled hundreds of cases over 2 millennia of records of saints and blesseds who were associated with scents of flowers and incense without an identifiable origin. In the tradition of Kardecist Spiritism, Allan Kardec recorded in the Medium's Book, and in the works of Léon Denis consistent reports of spiritual manifestations accompanied by perfumes. Elevated spirits, when they manifest, frequently do so through pleasant fragrances that have no identifiable material origin. It is understood as a characteristic of the vibrational frequency of these presences. The higher the spiritual vibration, the more it tends to produce sensorially pleasant phenomena in the physical plane, including fragrances. In the tereros of Candomblé and Umbanda, each orixa and each entity has associated fragrances. Oxalá, the orixa of peace and creation, is associated with the scent of chamomile and white flowers. Imanja, queen of the waters, with the fresh scent of the sea. Ogum, with the scent of the woods and iron. When someone feels one of these scents without an identifiable physical source at home, it is interpreted as a sign that that spiritual force is present and active in that space. In the Islamic tradition, there are descriptions of the Garden of Paradise that include paradisiacal fragrances, and in the Hadith, the narratives of the companions of the Prophet, there are reports of angelic visitations accompanied by pleasant perfumes. In the Jewish tradition, the Temple of Solomon was perfumed in a specific and intentional way as an element of connection with the divine presence. In the Talmud, there are discussions about the scents of angels. Cultures without contact with each other arrived at the same sign. The angel does not appear with fanfare, it appears with perfume. But there is a dimension of this phenomenon that very few people know, and it is the most important of all to understand what is happening when the perfume appears specifically inside your home. The perfume of the angels, when it occurs in a domestic environment, is almost always a sign of the conclusion of a spiritual purification process. Not the beginning, the conclusion. This is crucial to understand, because most people, when they experience the phenomenon, interpret it as the beginning of something, as if the angels were arriving to start cleaning. But the spiritual dynamic is the opposite. The perfume is the final seal. It is the sign that something heavy in the field of the home has been moved, that a burden that was installed in that space has been transmuted, that the field of the environment has elevated to the point where the angelic frequency could make itself present in a perceptible way. Think of it this way. You do not perceive the sun while your eyes are closed. You need to open your eyes for the light to arrive. The perfume of the angels works in an analogous way. It does not create the purification. It confirms that the spiritual field of the environment has reached a level of elevation sufficient for presences of that frequency to manifest in a perceptible way. And what moved that field before the perfume appeared? That is what we will explore now, because understanding what activated the purification is what gives you the power to maintain and deepen it. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell now. Content like this, which integrates spiritual knowledge, documented tradition, and practical application, is what this channel delivers every week. You will not want to miss the next one. There are 5 conditions that, when present consistently in a home, create the field for spiritual purification to complete itself and for the perfume of the angels to manifest as confirmation. The first condition is consistent prayer or elevated intention. It does not need to be formal prayer from a specific tradition. It is the state of connection with the sacred that repeats regularly in that environment. It can be the daily moment of gratitude before sleeping. It can be morning meditation. It can be the prayer made with the heart before meals. It can be the psalm read aloud when anxiety tightens. It can be the honest conversation with God while washing the dishes. What matters is not the ritual. It is the frequency of the heart that accompanies it. A home where true prayers happen regularly has a different energetic field than a home where this never occurs. Elevated intention leaves marks on the field of the environment. The second condition is the resolution of internal conflicts. The spiritual field of a home reflects the internal state of those who inhabit it. An environment where there is chronic, unresolved conflict between residents, accumulated resentments, heavy silences, buried misunderstandings, has an energetic field charged with these tensions. When one or more residents of this house work internally to resolve these conflicts, to ask for forgiveness, to offer forgiveness, to put into words what was suffocated in silence, the field of the environment responds. Internal resolution manifests as lightness in the space. And when this lightness reaches a certain level, the field is ready for the angelic presence. The third condition is the departure or removal of dense energies. This includes charged objects that you keep out of sentimental attachment, but which belong to periods or relations that caused harm. It includes external influences that entered the field of the home regularly, whether through visits from people with very negative energy or through content you consumed that fed states of fear, hatred, or despair. When you consciously remove or reduce these sources of burden, the field of the environment breathes. And the breathing of the field is what prepares the ground for purification. The fourth condition is intentional physical cleaning. There is a reason why all spiritual traditions include physical cleaning as part of purification rituals. It is not superstition. It is the recognition that the physical field and the spiritual field of the environment are interdependent. A physically disordered and dirty space has an energetic field that reflects that state. When you clean your house with intention, when you open the windows for the circulation of air and light, when you organize the spaces with care, you are simultaneously reorganizing the energetic field of the environment. Physical cleaning is a spiritual act when done with awareness of the invisible dimension that it also moves. And the fifth condition, the most powerful of all, is the word of blessing pronounced over the home. Biblical tradition and most spiritual traditions teach that words have creative power over environments. When Joshua entered Canaan, each city was first pronounced. When the priests blessed the temple, words came before the rites. When Jesus healed, the word came. When shamans purify a space, chants are an essential part of the process, not decoration. Pronouncing blessings over your house aloud, with intention and with faith, is to create sound waves that literally reorder the energetic field of the environment. The physics of sound confirms that different sound frequencies have measurable and distinct effects on matter. The crystallography images of Masaru Emoto, although methodologically controversial, opened a window of perception on how human intention can influence the structure of matter. And the science of therapeutic sound, the field of music therapy and vibrational therapy, consistently documents that sounds of certain frequencies modify the state of environments and the organisms that inhabit them. Blessing aloud, pronounced prayer, intentional chant. These are physical acts with consequences in the spiritual field that go far beyond what most people imagine. Now I will reveal something that will surprise you, and that will change the way you think about what your house carries. Every home has an energetic history. Not just your personal history while you lived there, the history of everyone who passed before, the history of the land, the history of the neighborhood, the history of every conflict, every joy, every tear, every celebration that happened within those walls. Quantum physics has a concept called field memory or morphic field, developed by biologist Rupert Sheldrake, which proposes that complex systems have collective memories that transcend the individuals who compose them. In the context of environments, this translates into the phenomenon that many spiritual traditions already knew. Places keep energetic memories of emotionally intense events that happened in them. This is why some houses have a heaviness that you feel upon entering, even when everything is apparently in order. It is why certain rooms are harder to be in than others for no obvious reason. It is why environments where intense conflicts, prolonged illnesses, traumatic deaths, or accumulated suffering occurred have a distinct field from those where peace, joy, and love predominated. This is not superstition. It is field recording. And these field recordings influence the state of the residents, sometimes in a very deep way, without anyone perceiving the connection. When the perfume of the angels occurs in a house, it signals that this historical field recording has undergone a transmutation, that something that was engraved in those walls in a dense way has been moved to a higher frequency, that the space has been in some way renewed in its invisible dimension. And this process was not always initiated consciously by those who live there. Sometimes it is the result of a sequence of small, positive choices that accumulated reached a critical mass of transformation. Sometimes it is the result of a specific prayer made with a completely open heart that pierced through all defenses and reached the level of the field with enough force to move what was heavy. Sometimes it is the result of a decision of forgiveness that was taken internally with such completeness that the field responded immediately. But whatever the trigger, the result is the same. The field has elevated, and the perfume confirmed it. Like this video now if you felt a shiver while I was saying this, because that shiver is your field, recognizing a truth it already knew, and that recognition has weight in the spiritual field. Now I will give you the complete protocol for purification and maintenance of your home's field, so that what was confirmed by the perfume of the angels may consolidate, so that the elevated field that was established may deepen instead of receding, and so that your house may permanently become a space of protection, peace, and prosperity for all who inhabit it. There are 7 practices. 7 because the number 7 appears in all great traditions as a symbol of completeness and a perfect cycle. The 7 days of creation, the 7 branches of the sacred candelabrum, the 7 chakras, the 7 tones of the musical scale. 7 practices for a complete field. The first practice is the daily opening. Every day in the morning, open at least one window or door for at least 10 minutes, not just for physical ventilation, with the intention that the fresh air entering carries light, renewal, and blessing to the space, and that the air leaving carries with it what no longer belongs to the field of that home. This simple practice has a powerful cumulative effect when done with consistency and awareness. The second practice is the prayer of opening the home. Once a week, preferably on the same day, walk through the rooms of your house pronouncing aloud a blessing over each space. It can be a psalm, it can be a prayer from your own tradition, it can be a simple phrase that comes from the heart. The important thing is that it be aloud and that each room receives specific attention. Bedroom, may this be a space of rest, restoration, and sacred intimacy. Kitchen, may this be a space of nourishment, joy, and abundance. Living room, may this be a space of genuine connection, true conversation, and peace. Each room has a specific energetic function, and a directed blessing activates this function intentionally. The third practice is monthly smudging. The use of smoke from aromatic herbs as an instrument of energetic purification of environments is one of the most universal practices that exists. In Brazil, we have access to a wealth of plants with purifying properties that most local spiritual traditions recognize. Rosemary for protection and mental clarity. Rue for protection against negative energies. Basil for prosperity and peace. Lavender for calm and harmony. Eucalyptus for cleaning and renewal. Science confirms that many of these plants have chemical compounds with antibacterial properties, and that their smoke changes the chemical composition of the air in a measurable way. In the spiritual field, smudging is understood as a tool for transmuting dense energies into lighter energies. Once a month, smudge each room of your house with a clear intention of cleaning and renewal. The fourth practice is weekly intentional silence. Once a week, dedicate at least 30 minutes to total silence inside your house. No television, no cell phone, no music. Just you and the space in silence. In this silence, perceive the field of the environment. Perceive the natural sounds that exist when artificial noise does not cover them. Perceive how the space vibrates. This practice sharpens your sensitivity to the field of the home and creates a regularity of stillness that the environment begins to incorporate as a permanent characteristic. Houses where silence dwells regularly have a distinct field from those where noise is constant. The fifth practice is gratitude for the home. This may seem too simple, but it is one of the most transformative practices that exists. Once a day, preferably before sleeping, give thanks for your home in a specific way. Not just for the roof, for every detail. For that window that lets in the afternoon light, for that room where you can think, for that bed where you rest, for that kitchen where food is prepared. Specific gratitude for the space where you live creates a positive link between your field and the field of the environment that changes the energetic quality of both. The sixth practice is the renewal of objects. At least once every 3 months, Identify objects in your house that belong to painful periods or relations of the past, and that you keep out of attachment, but which do not bring memories of joy. These objects function as energetic anchors of the period to which they belong. I'm not saying to discard memories, I'm saying to evaluate honestly what that object carries in the energetic field. If the answer is weight, sadness, or painful memory, consider a different destination. Donate, discard, or transform. And when you do this, do it with the clear intention that you are releasing the field of the environment for what comes next. And the seventh practice is the blessing of the residents, not just of the space, of the people who inhabit that space. Once a week, in prayer, name each person who lives in your house and pronounce over them a specific blessing. Son, may wisdom, protection, and clear purpose come upon you. Spouse, may peace, health, and genuine joy come upon you. Yourself, may clarity, strength, and connection with who I am called to be come upon me. The people who inhabit a space are part of the energetic field of that space. When the people are blessed, the environment is blessed. There is no separation. Write in the comments now. Have you ever felt the perfume of the angels in your house? Where was it? What was the scent? It could be floral, it could be sweet, it could be something you do not know how to name, but that was unmistakable as different from the normal. I read every account that arrives here, and many of the accounts that arrive in the comments of this channel are of experiences that confirm what spiritual traditions have documented for millennia. You are not alone in this experience, and it was not just your imagination. Before closing, I need to tell you about an aspect of the perfume of the angels that is rarely discussed, but which is absolutely essential to understand this phenomenon in its totality. The perfume is not always for the one who receives it. Sometimes it is for the one who is no longer here. There are records in multiple traditions that angelic perfume appears in environments where someone who recently departed is sending a signal that they arrived well, that they are at peace, that the transition was welcomed by the light. In Spiritism, this is one of the most common forms of manifestation of spirits of light newly arrived in the spiritual plane, a fragrance that the people around recognize as something that belonged to the departed loved one. If you lost someone recently and felt an unexpected perfume, especially in environments they frequented or with the scent that identified them, this is recognized by serious spiritual traditions as a sign of continuity. That love does not end with the death of the body. That communication between the planes is real, even when it happens in a way as subtle as an olfactory trail that lasts only a few seconds. And if you felt this scent and were left with that calm certainty that it was her, that it was him, trust that certainty, because the calm certainty that needs no additional evidence to exist is one of the most reliable signs that spiritual experience produces. Reaching the end, I want to leave you with the image that will remain after this video ends. Your house is not just a physical space. It is a living field. It is an energetic organism that breathes, absorbs, records, and reflects. And you, as the inhabitant and guardian of this field, have more power over it than you probably imagine. The perfume of the angels that you felt was not random. It was not an illusion. It was confirmation. It was the spiritual field of your home communicating through the most direct sense that exists, that something was completed, that something was cleaned, that the frequency of the environment reached a level where the presence of forces of light could manifest in a perceptible way. And now you have the map to maintain and deepen that level. 7 practices, simple in form, deep in effect, which, when applied with consistency and intention, transform the field of your home permanently. Because you deserve to inhabit a space that protects you, restores you, and elevates you. Your children deserve to grow up in an environment where the spiritual field is cultivated with care. Your family deserves a house where the angels feel welcome enough to leave their trail. This is possible, and you already know it, because the perfume has already confirmed that the process has begun. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Share this video with someone you know is seeking a home with more peace, more protection, and more spiritual presence. because sometimes the greatest blessing you can give someone is the knowledge that will change the way that person cares for the field where they live. Until the next video. And remember, your house was purified. The perfume confirmed it. Now it is up to you to keep the field open, elevated, and full of light. The angels already know the address.